Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that's paying money out of your pocket, or do you want to be the one getting money? There is an absolutely huge tidal wave of inflation that is coming for Canada and the United States. We call it friendshoring or reshoring, whatever they're going to be calling it these days. There's going to be huge pain on some people, but massive opportunity for other people. We're going to be dissecting a little bit the budget that we had today and talk about why this inflation is going to come and how you can make a lot of money from it, because that is why we're all here. Let's jump straight into the article that we're going to be reviewing a few things today. Now, you can go to biv.com if you want. Now, it's talking about Ottawa is going all in on this friendshoring thing. And here's what it can mean. Now, we're going to be breaking down a little bit. I'm going to have a lot of comments on this, but it says some experts warn that the US versus them language means Canadian businesses will need to adjust. So there are some things we have to take from that, because it is not us versus them. And we're not really, Canada and the United States, the ones that started it. Is it right now, or is it long term? Now, some people will say America has a very strong military. They've been fighting around the world for a century, whatever. But I'm just saying right now, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the United States took them off the Swiss system and seized a lot of their assets and caused a lot of economic pain. We're just going to talk about this recent thing. Also, the BRICS movement has been coming into place for a while. So we're not going to really see Canada versus the United States. It's more so going to be one side of the world versus the other, like the West versus the East. That is already started. So we're going to be diving into that a little bit today too. So as we continue on, this year's budget reveals the federal Liberals envision Canada relying more on the allies for trade in the future. Economists and geopolitical experts say, even if that could result in higher prices or missed opportunities. So I don't like people when they say could, would, possibly. I don't like all the fluff that we hear in mainstream media. And I'm here to tell you the things that you do not hear on mainstream media. I'm telling you what will happen, because it's absolutely really, really clear. When you have countries like Russia who do not want to send stuff over to North America or the West, Russia calls it the golden billion, meaning North America and Europe, for example, Australia, New Zealand, like the Western countries. So they don't want to send the raw materials to them anymore. At the same token, we see the United States sign like the CHIPS Act, no longer allowing semiconductors to be sent, or machinery or maintenance machinery to be sent to China anymore. We're seeing these battle lines driven that are putting in the sand. So on one hand, you have United States, Canada might have Walmart shelves that are empty, no more toasters for us. But at the same time, China is playing a deadly game. They import 80% of all their fuel and 80% of all their food into their country. So as they are choked off from food producing countries like Canada, United States, Spain, France, when you cut all of that off, you're going to be into some big trouble overall. So, one hand, we'll have empty Walmart shelves. The other hand, we're going to have empty grocery shelves. You tell me which one is worse. I can live more than 3 days without an extra toaster in the house. People cannot live that long without food. And therein lies the problem. Let's continue on. It's reframing, says University of British Columbia professor. Listen, it's reframing. I don't care what the term is. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said friendshoring. I just don't like hearing all these fancy words that they make up for the news. Let's just say it like it was. Industry minister in Canada said we're decoupling from China. Yes, we are, because China has their China 2030 plan. They want to be at the top of the world pile, right? World power. Some experts warn that the us versus them language means Canadian businesses will need to adjust to avoid losing out on opportunities in the developing world. Now, of course, this is going to come. Certain industries, certain business interests will have different ideas. Now, I don't really think it's an us versus them anymore. Depending on who's saying it, remember, they always have an agenda. Always. And so when they say that, it doesn't mean that Canada and United States are never going to have any business relationship with any country in the developing world. That's a massive step for you to take. But we are seeing a whole band of developing countries join together in revolt against the US-led dollar. being the world reserve currency. They're actively stacking gold to try to back up and have a new currency. Maybe it'll be a digital one, something like that. So those countries, for sure, we're not going to be in the same group anymore, but there's going to be lots of other developing countries that are going to be out there. Now, this I like. The documentation says trading with other democracies prevents economic extortion and being vulnerable to exploitation from hostile foreign powers who are buying up Canada's natural resources. So, a couple words about that. I think this is very important. Just let's read that again, that trading with other democracies prevents economic extortion. So, what does that mean? That means like Canada would not do trade anymore with China, or Russia, for example, will only trade in the United States. Woo! Well, there's the problem. If we're only going to trade from things from the United States or Australia, huge shipping from Australia, America, their dollar is much more expensive. Now we have to pay for that toaster with $40 an hour labor rather than having it made in China for $5 an hour labor. And you don't think that's going to come at a massive cost to everyone? So just trading within democracies is not what's going to work. We have to all work together. Now, it's interesting that they're making direct reference to Canada here and saying by hostile foreign buyers who are buying up Canada's natural resources. Well, Canada, as you know, has their own country and they have their own set of laws and their own court systems. How do we allow this? So Canada is known for its natural resources, right? We have a very, very large country and not a very large amount of population. So we have tons of lumber. We have tons of minerals, gold, silver, diamonds. We have all kinds of natural resources here, oil. We got food being made here and we export it. But this is the crazy part of Canada. Canada takes it for granted. We are not run by smart people. We would initially like to cut all of our trees down and we sell the trees to a country like Japan or something, and they take the trees and they turn it into furniture and sell us the furniture back. Or we send the raw lumber down to the United States, they chop it into boards, send it back up to Canada for us to put in the homes at huge profits. So we don't make the profits. We don't have the mills here. We take our oil out of the ground, send it to the United States for refining. They refine it, they send it back up to Canada. We buy it at a premium. Why don't we refine it here? And this goes for everything. It doesn't really matter. Canada is similar to Russia, that they have vast amounts of natural resources and we send it over. We just sell the raw goods, right? We do have a high-tech economy in some things, but we take advantage of this and we just feel that we're always going to have those piles. So Canada, the number one, saying democracy to democracy, that doesn't work. Number two, also doesn't work. Every country should be doing what's best for their own interests. Imagine if we were making our own toasters here. I keep picking on toasters, but I'm saying just what happens if we would make this stuff and be able to sell this stuff. We're now creating a lot more jobs and a lot more value. And every country should be doing that, but it's hard to do that, right? So if you're in Russia, they don't have a lot of cash, so it's hard for them to build that many plants. But in Canada, we probably have the money to be able to start to do some of that. But no matter how you slice it, if China does not want to work anymore and work with North America, now all of a sudden we're going to have much higher labor and it will have much higher cost. Well, how much cost? We're probably looking at 10% inflation for the next 5 years, 10% every year, 50% overall. We're going to have inflation. It's a lot. Now, the governments will never publish that. Their CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is always about half of what reality is. I know when we go look at the store, we're looking at the CPI saying it's 6%, and we're looking at each other, look, side eye, right? Going, do you only pay 6% more for groceries? Because I'm paying a lot more than that. Is gas only up 5%? Is it down? And at the end of the day, what they're saying is iPhones, okay? iPhones are the things that have gone down in price. And you're like, hang on a second, they didn't go down in price at all. But what they're saying is, oh, there's more memory in it now. So we divide the memory by the amount of dollars, and that way we can make it look like it's cheaper. Ah, what a load of malarkey. All right, so let's continue on, you guys. So now this was somebody else talking about Canada not working with some of the other countries. They're going to say it further isolates countries and make it harder to rally global investment to counter climate change. I mean, everyone's going to say whatever they want to say to make it so that Canada still can get taken advantage of. South Africa's High Commissioner in Ottawa expressed a similar view. This is just, I wouldn't be jumping on that bandwagon. But this is a picture I wanted to show you. These pictures are of the BRICS countries. So if you look at them, these are the people all holding hands like one big happy family. So BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. You see them all here holding hands, all singing Kumbaya. Good on you guys. All right. So these guys are all trying to form an alliance against the West. And so is it stopped there? No. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey all want to join this group too in rebellion against the United States. And this is a hard thing to swallow because Canada is tied at the hip to United States. So if you have a rebellion against the United States, it's going to hurt Canada a lot. I can see America from my house. I sound like Sarah Palin, right? So if I could see them that close, we're the biggest trading partner of the United States. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt for sure. Now, the funny thing is when you say Saudi Arabia, my goodness, you guys, Saudi Arabia, 1974, I think it was, United States went and signed a deal. They're like, guys, Iran is going to come try to blow us up. They don't like us. So all of a sudden we need guns. So the United States sails in, says, we're going to give you guns, but you sell all of your oil forever in US dollars. And they go, we'll do it. Sign. This way, the world uses US dollars for all of their trade, all of their oil. Amazing. Saudi Arabia now put their nose up at that. And they're now saying, we're going to take money from anyone. Russian rubles, doesn't matter. So they're that is over now. So now that Saudi Arabia is directly challenging the United States, it is the end of the US dollar. It's going down. And there's no way to recover from this as more and more people are joining this BRICS alliance, which is going to affect Canada as well. As we move on, it doesn't stop here. As we see now, Saudi Arabia is in it, Egypt, Turkey. Guess who else wants to join? Argentina is requesting to join the BRICS as well. Now, why would Argentina want to do that? Let's take a look. 7% inflation. Notice this is in 1 month. March. David, 1 month. This is impossible. How can it be 1 month? Oh, yeah? Look at this. Okay, let's go back just a couple years, 5 years. They're sitting at 20%, 40%. 100% inflation, guys. Look at the inflation. Is unbelievable. We're complaining about 6%. They have 100% inflation. And guess what? 100% is the government, what they're admitting to. In reality, it's hundreds and hundreds of percent. Can you even imagine where this is coming from? And I got to tell you something. Many years ago, we have friends that live in Argentina and Venezuela. They said at the time that in the store, they had cans of soup. You know, at a regular grocery store, instead of having paper underneath those cans, they had little computer screens under each one because the prices were continuously going up. So when a guy would go to work in the morning, he said, you have to pay me in the morning and I'd run to the store at noon and buy something. And then you have to pay me for the afternoon work. I'd run to the store at 5 p.m. and buy something because the prices are continually going up. That's how fast it's going. And I always said to my mom, if we ever see these computer stickers underneath those cans of soup or anything in the stores, that's when you know you're in deep trouble. And guess what? Now when I go to the grocery stores, Canadian Tire, whatever store, they have these electronic computers now underneath all the products, and the prices are going up almost every week. This is what blows my mind, and it's here. So imagine, I know that we're facing high inflation. Imagine living in those places. Now, some of the keys that I want to tell you about, I'm asking you, what do people in those countries do? So I talked to my friends from Venezuela and Argentina. What do you do in high inflation? Because money becomes worthless. I had a bill that I bought from Zimbabwe. This dollar was $1 billion in 2008. So I technically am a billionaire, but this wouldn't even buy you a Coca-Cola, wouldn't buy you Jack anymore. So what do they do in those countries? They run to the US dollar, they run to the euro, or they run to gold. The moment that they get paid, they exchange their money into something that's safer. But me and you were talking about, wow, how is it that they're getting rid of their currency and getting into something that's losing as well? The euro and the US dollar is going down in value like crazy. So what are they doing? They're turning a lot to one of my favorite topics, gold. And so gold seems to keep up with inflation over the years and through recessions. Pretty cool thing. If you're thinking of trading it back and forth, don't do that. Long-term wealth preservation, yeah, you'd like to buy some gold. But it's not just gold. It's commodities and things that people need. So I'm asking you a question, can you store unlimited amounts of bread in your kitchen that is going to be good for years? No, you can't. Oil is a funny thing, though. When we're in high inflation everywhere, if you don't pump it out of the ground and you leave it in the ground, now all of a sudden it's going to be worth more tomorrow and worth more the next day and the next day. And the value of it keeps going up over the time. The longer you keep it in the ground, the more money you make. You know what I mean? So if you knew that you could sell, here's a back scratcher. If I knew I could sell this for $1 today or $2 tomorrow, I'd weigh it off and I'd say, I'm not going to sell it today. I'm going to sell it tomorrow for more money. So this is the way it's working with oil. The longer you can keep your resources in the ground and not sell them, the more money you're going to make. Think of Russia. They're not selling their steel right now. They're not selling their natural gas right now. They're not selling their stuff because that's where the value is, and the world's going to need it and the price is going to go up. You want an example? I hoped that you would ask. If we look at what happened this week, oil prices jump 8% as OPEC announces surprise million barrel production cut. So OPEC is oil producing and exporting countries, who is led by none other than Saudi Arabia, who had signed that agreement with the United States 75 years ago, but now they're not doing that, right? We're not going to honor that one anymore. So they cut oil by 1 million barrels a day at an absolute jump. Now, the move is to push prices up. It's pushing prices up, you guys. So 8% up. Oil is life. No matter what you want to say, all of the cars that drive around are made with oil. The steel that you have is made by using some sort of liquefied natural gas or something to heat the smelters. Everything that you buy comes on a truck. All of your food that you made is used with liquid natural gas, fertilizer usually, to make those fruits and vegetables. So we need new tech. We're not getting into the politics of that. The point is that oil equals the economy. Oil equals life today. So they've just added 8% to everything. And they did that because the value of that oil is going to be worth more tomorrow. They see that inflation coming as well. So do you living in a condo, an apartment somewhere, could you go buy like all this oil and store it in your basement? You can't do that. It's not for you. But something you could do is buy some gold, as this keeps up with its value over time. So that's something you can do. You could start with getting something much cheaper, 1 ounce coin of silver. You can get something like that for $30 in the States, $40 if you're in Canada, Canadian dollars worth a bit less. But you guys, this is going to happen over and over and over again. Here is the great benefit for you though. We're going to have massive inflation, bar none. But inflation adds money to the money supply. In addition, it's going to move money from one person's pocket to the other. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that's paying money out of your pocket, or do you want to be the one getting money? If you have a T4 job, a W2 job, something like that, your wage will never keep up with inflation. Bar none. If you are a pensioner, you're on a fixed pension, you're not going to make any more money, period. What you need to do is improve your skill set in order to give more value to people, and so that you can have a business that can expand and continue to scale to make you more money. In addition to that, the majority that we're going to see is people with assets inflating in price. Please go do some research on Lebanon, on Argentina, Venezuela, anywhere that you want to go read about that has inflation and what happens. Let's imagine for a moment, just some easy numbers. $1 million house, $1 million mortgage. Okay. You owe 100% of it. If the government overnight printed double the money, just like that, they can do that with an email. If they decided to do that, your property, theoretically, no other factors involved, would go to $2 million because they halved the value of your money. It would go to $2 million overnight, but your mortgage stays at $1 million. You went from owning 0% of your home to owning 50% of your home. If you can have good debt for yourself, that good debt will be evaporated with really high inflation. The governments have been playing these tricks for 100 years, forever. Please study 1945 to 1950. This is how governments got out of World War II debt. High inflation and not raising the salaries on their people, making it harder and harder and harder for them to get by day to day. But by having good debt, their debt gets evaporated. So governments now who are under so much strain of debt, that debt will become easier and easier with the more inflation that they print. They print money now, they make people happy, and their bills get easier to pay, and they'll just not listen to the people who are having trouble paying for the necessities of life. Remember, if you borrow money on houses, if you borrow money, borrowing money is how money is created, Robert Kiyosaki always taught us. And there's no taxes on borrowed money. So please financial education, you guys. What is coming and what has already been happening for the past couple years is you're removing money from one person's pocket and putting it in another person's pocket. If you learn the right way to do this, you could be the one receiving cash, not losing. I don't want you guys to lose. I wish you the very, very best. Please follow me over the next couple of years. I'm going to be doing this all the time, trying to help you. I want to save as many people as I can. I wish you the very best, you guys. I read all of your comments. Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. I want to know. Honestly, I really, really want to know. And let me know if I can help. I wish you the very best. Have a great night, everyone. Love you guys.